I guess I could if you want me to.
All right, I got Christmas gifts here.
Great.
Courtesy of Panini. Bless you, Marvin.
God bless.
So this is the special Caitlin Clark chronicled 100 card set, and it's the book Caitlin Clark. You got the Time mag.
The moment Dan Patrick froze, trading card box still sealed in his hands, he accidentally said the quiet part out loud about Caitlin Clark. This wasn't cardboard anymore. This was history, money, power, and proof that the WNBA had already crossed a line it can never uncross. That single reaction, "Don't open it, keep it sealed," tells you more about Caitlin Clark's true position in sports than 1,000 press releases or carefully worded league statements ever could. Because Dan Patrick is not a hype merchant. He is not a social media clout chaser, and he is not someone who mistakes noise for value. He has lived through the rise and collapse of entire sports economies. He watched the junk wax era hollow out baseball cards. He saw which athletes' memorabilia aged like gold and which turned into landfill. And when a man like that instinctively treats a Caitlin Clark Panini box like an asset instead of entertainment, it signals something deeper than fandom. It signals inevitability. Before a single casual fan even cracked open a pack, the market had already spoken. Target's pre-orders wiped out at $85 a box within hours, during the most competitive spending season of the year, with inflation squeezing wallets and consumers supposedly being cautious. That detail matters, because people don't drop premium money during the holidays unless they believe what they're buying carries future value, emotional or financial, and in this case, it's both. This wasn't a mass-market novelty product tossed into clearance bins. This was a calculated, high-confidence release that assumed demand would exceed supply, and it did. And when you slow down and actually examine what Panini put together, the message becomes even louder. This wasn't a normal rookie set sprinkled among other players as an afterthought. This was an entire chronicle constructed around one athlete, 100 total cards, 8 packs per box, 32 cards per box, 50 cards dedicated exclusively to her WNBA rookie season with the Indiana Fever, 10 lifestyle cards capturing her off the court, and then the nuclear option, exclusive autographs and ultra-rare color blast inserts that collectors already know can individually sell for hundreds if not more. That is not how companies behave when they're uncertain. That is not how companies behave when they're experimenting. That is how companies behave when they believe they are documenting the beginning of something that will be talked about decades from now. Panini does not gamble blindly. They operate on data, trends, and predictive modeling built on decades of sports history. They know which athletes sell, which ones spike temporarily, and which ones become pillars of the hobby. The fact that they chose to build an entire premium release around Caitlin Clark places her in a category that is historically reserved for names like LeBron James, Tom Brady, Kobe Bryant, and Michael Jordan, athletes whose impact extended beyond their leagues and into the culture itself. And that's the part that makes some people uncomfortable, because Caitlin Clark is still technically a rookie, still early in her professional career, and yet the infrastructure around her already treats her like a legacy figure. That discomfort, however, doesn't change reality. The market doesn't care about feelings. The market cares about demand, attention, and longevity, and Caitlin Clark checks all 3 boxes in a way no other current WNBA player does. You can argue about basketball schemes, shot selection, or defensive limitations until you're blue in the face, but none of that stops arenas from selling out when she comes to town. None of that stops television ratings from tripling when her name is on the schedule, and none of that stops collectors from treating her rookie cards like blue-chip investments. This is why the Dan Patrick segment matters so much. It wasn't scripted. It wasn't promotional. It was instinctive. Patrick didn't say, "This is cool." He didn't say, "Let's see what's inside." He said, "Keep it sealed." That's a collector's reflex when they believe time will do the work for them. And when he references the junk wax era, when overproduction destroyed value, he's implicitly saying this feels different. This feels controlled, intentional, and historically aligned. Caitlin Clark's cards aren't flooding the market, They're being curated, framed, and positioned as artifacts of a turning point. And collectors understand something casual fans often miss: documented moments drive long-term value. Rookie seasons, cultural breakthroughs, firsts, these are the ingredients that turn cardboard into currency. Caitlin Clark's rookie year wasn't just statistically impressive, it was transformational. It changed viewership patterns. It altered media coverage. It pulled in fans who had never watched a WNBA game before. That kind of disruption doesn't fade quietly. It echoes. And then there's the part people keep glossing over: Panini didn't need the WNBA's permission to recognize this moment. This wasn't a league-driven marketing initiative. This was a private company responding to consumer behavior. They saw what happened during March Madness. They saw Iowa's ratings explode. They saw Caitlin Clark on the cover of Time magazine before she ever played a professional game, a detail that cannot be overstated, because Time does not put athletes on its cover lightly. And it certainly does not do it for women's basketball players unless something culturally significant is happening. That cover is in this card set. Think about what that means. Panini is literally embedding mainstream cultural validation into a sports collectible. They're telling collectors, this isn't just basketball history, this is American sports culture shifting in real time. Adding cards from her Indiana Fever debut, the most watched WNBA game in over 2 decades, her all-star appearance that drove record engagement. And suddenly this collection reads less like merchandise and more like an archive of the exact moment women's basketball broke through a ceiling it had been pressing against for years. This is where the disconnect between the league's internal politics and external reality becomes impossible to ignore. Because while Panini, Target, collectors, and mainstream media are treating Caitlin Clark like a generational asset, there are still voices within the WNBA ecosystem trying to frame her impact as exaggerated or inconvenient. And that tension is exactly why Sophie Cunningham's comments hit like a thunderclap. When a veteran Phoenix Mercury guard, with nothing to gain personally, says it pisses her off when people deny Caitlin Clark is the face of the league, she's not speaking emotionally, she's speaking observationally. She's seen the crowds. She's felt the energy shift. She's watched how media follows Caitlin Clark from city to city. She's experienced firsthand what happens when the Fever come to town compared to when they don't. And when she says the league would not be where it is without her, she's articulating what the market has already proven. You don't get sold-out pre-orders, premium pricing, and sealed box investment behavior without a central figure driving it. And this is the part that truly reframes everything. Caitlin Clark didn't ask for this role. She didn't campaign for it. She didn't brand herself as the savior of the WNBA. She just played basketball in a way that resonated with people who had never been reached before. That resonance is what corporations chase. It's what media amplifies. It's what collectors preserve. And it's what leagues are built on, whether they acknowledge it or not. While debates rage about respect, hierarchy, and legacy, the world outside the league has already made its decision. Caitlin Clark is the entry point. She is the reference. She is the name casual fans recognize first. And that's why a sealed Panini box sitting on Dan Patrick's desk matters more than any argument on social media. It's a quiet, undeniable signal that we are watching the foundation of something much bigger than one rookie season being laid in real time. This first paragraph isn't about cards. It's about confirmation. It's about the moment speculation turns into evidence. When respected veterans of the sports world instinctively treat your memorabilia like an appreciating asset, when billion-dollar companies build premium products around your story, and when fans spend holiday money just to hold a piece of your career unopened, you've crossed into a different tier of influence. Caitlin Clark isn't being debated anymore by the people who matter economically. She's being archived. And once history starts being archived, the argument is already over. When Sophie Cunningham bluntly calls anyone denying Caitlin Clark is the face of the WNBA dumb as ___, She's not just venting frustration, she's holding up a mirror to the league, media, and fans, reflecting a truth too uncomfortable for some to admit. Caitlin Clark is single-handedly rewriting the rules of influence, visibility, and revenue in women's basketball, and no amount of polite debate can erase the numbers, the cultural impact, or the seismic shift she's already triggered. Sophie Cunningham's statement is electric because it cuts through the smoke and mirrors that often obscure the WNBA's internal narratives. She's a seasoned veteran who has been in the league since 2019, a player who has faced and competed against elite talent like Aya Wilson, Breanna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu, and many others who have built significant reputations. She knows what it takes to be respected within the league, and she understands the difference between being highly skilled and being culturally indispensable. When she declares, without hesitation, that Caitlin Clark is the face of the league, she's communicating what objective metrics, market behavior, and historical context already confirm. Clark is not merely a standout player. She is the central pivot around which the current visibility and growth of the WNBA rotates. Consider the television ratings. Caitlin Clark's debut with the Indiana Fever drew the highest WNBA viewership in over 2 decades, a statistic that cannot be dismissed as fluke or hype. That's measurable, quantifiable proof that her presence alone elevates the league to new levels of public attention. Compare that to other audience engagement that Clark generates is unprecedented for a rookie, signaling her unique ability to captivate beyond traditional fan bases. It is one thing to be statistically dominant on the court, it is another to translate that dominance into tangible shifts in cultural consumption, sponsorship interest, and media coverage, and Clark does both effortlessly. This is why the Panini trading card release was not just a collectible launch, it was an affirmation of her marketability, a public acknowledgement that she has transcended being just a WNBA rookie and has become a symbol of the league itself. It isn't just about her on-court performance, it's about what she represents: attention, cultural relevance, and the ability to command mainstream interest. The significance of Sophie Cunningham speaking so bluntly is amplified by her context. She is not affiliated with the Indiana Fever. She does not financially benefit from Clark's success. She has nothing to gain by inflating Clark's status except speaking truthfully to what she sees as reality, both as a peer and as a participant in the sport. That makes her declaration all the more credible. This isn't a case of lobbying for publicity, or hype, or fan clout. It is a clear-eyed acknowledgement from someone who has witnessed firsthand the effect Caitlin Clark has on arenas, fans, and the league's cultural penetration. Cunningham anticipates objections before they're even made. She references other prominent players, quickly shutting down the what about counter-arguments. Sabrina? Other great players? Absolutely. But if you're arguing she isn't the face, you're dumb as __. That sentence alone cuts through the polite rhetoric and exposes the cognitive dissonance in league discourse. There are plenty of talented, well-known players. They all contribute to the ecosystem of the WNBA. But none of them, in the current moment, can match the combination of visibility, marketability, mainstream attention, and generational impact that Clark has generated. It's not opinion. It's observation backed by measurable data points across media coverage, merchandise sales, fan engagement, and mainstream recognition. And Cunningham understands that separating respect for other players from acknowledgement of Clark's singular influence is not only accurate, it's necessary for anyone trying to understand the current dynamics of the league. Think about what she's pointing out about market dynamics in real time. Trading cards, merchandise, social media engagement, television ratings, sold-out games, these aren't minor metrics. They directly affect revenue streams and bargaining power within the league. The WNBA is in the midst of CBA negotiations. Players are discussing better compensation, potential strikes, and revenue-sharing adjustments. Every dollar Caitlin Clark generates outside traditional league channels, through merchandising, trading card sales, media appearances, directly increases the financial leverage of players in collective bargaining. It's a complex situation, Other athletes benefit from her popularity and the economic uplift it creates, yet they must also acknowledge that their negotiating power is partly derived from what Clark brings to the table. Sophie Cunningham's comments implicitly recognize that tension. She's identifying the elephant in the room. Caitlin Clark's presence isn't just a matter of popularity, it's a matter of league-wide economic impact, one that forces other players and owners to reassess assumptions about revenue and influence.